Welcome. Let's take a look at our top story this hour. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Saudi Arabia on a two-day visit. It is his second visit to the kingdom in 3 years. Narendra Modi is meeting Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. The Indian Prime Minister and the Saudi King will sign key agreements on elevating the India-Saudi Arabia partnership to the strategic level in a short while from now. The visit will likely open a new chapter in relations between the two countries. Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister held a meeting with Abdul Rahman bin Abdul Mohsen Al Fadli, who is the Kingdom's Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture. He has also held talks with Ahmed bin Salman Al Raji, the Labour and Social Development Minister of Saudi Arabia. Now, these are part of a long list of meetings that the Prime Minister is scheduled to attend over the course of the day. Without a doubt, the highlight of the visit will be the Future Investment Initiative Forum, also called Davos in the Desert, where Modi is the keynote speaker. But this visit will also see him hold talks with various stakeholders in the Saudi royal family, a sign of deepening ties between the two countries. At the top of this list, of course, is the Crown Prince Mohammed Bin Salman, who holds the reins of power in the kingdom. Modi will hold a bilateral with the Crown Prince at around 9:30 p.m. India Standard Time. Now, this will be the 5th time the two will meet. Ahead of their encounter, Modi said, and I quote, "I recall with warmth my previous meetings with him and look forward to meeting him again during this visit. I am confident that under the leadership of His Majesty King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed Bin Salman, bilateral relations between India and Saudi Arabia will only grow stronger," unquote. It is a packed schedule for Modi in the lead-up to the meeting with the Crown Prince. He is scheduled to have multiple engagements with ministers of the Saudi government, including the ministers of Energy, Foreign Affairs and Environment. And then at 4:30 p.m, King Salman will host the Prime Minister for a lunch, followed by a bilateral meeting. The strategic cooperation between the two countries remains a high priority, as highlighted by Modi in his interview to the Arab News. Modi said that India and Saudi Arabia shared common strategic interests and that he was satisfied with the level of cooperation between the two countries, especially in the field of counter-terrorism. And this is where the signing of the Strategic Partnership Council Agreement comes in. In the Prime Minister's own words, the creation of the Partnership Council will elevate the relations between the countries to a new level. And then there is oil. India's energy requirements are on the rise, and the kingdom has been more than happy to oblige. India imports around 18% of its oil from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco, UAE's ADNOC, and Indian public sector oil companies are jointly developing $44 billion West Coast refinery in Riyadh, now Maharashtra, which is the single largest greenfield refinery in India. An Indian company, Reliance, announced that Saudi Aramco, one of the most valuable and profitable companies in the world, will take a 20% share in RIL's oil and chemical businesses at a value of a whopping $75 billion. Saudi Arabia is also looking to participate in India's strategic petroleum reserves. The Prime Minister held a meeting with the kingdom's energy minister, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, where all these issues would likely have come up. Now, he is the 4th son of King Salman and the 1st royal. And now we are cutting live to an MEA press conference currently underway.
At the invitation of His Majesty, the King of Saudi Arabia. Prime Minister arrived yesterday night in Riyadh, where he was received by the Honorable Governor of Riyadh and other Saudi dignitaries. A ceremonial welcome was accorded to him at the airport. This morning, Prime Minister met His Majesty the King of Jordan. It was a very warm meeting where both leaders recalled Prime Minister's visit to Jordan in February 2018 and the subsequent state visit of His Majesty the King of Jordan to India a month later. The leaders expressed satisfaction at the excellent state of our bilateral relations, including our cooperation in setting up the Center for IT Excellence in Amman by India, our trade and investment ties, and also decided to convene the Joint Committee for Trade and Investment to explore ways of enhancing our trade and economic ties even more. Prime Minister also appreciated the role of His Majesty the King of Jordan in promoting harmony and moderation and speaking out forcefully against terrorism at the recently held UN General Assembly. Regional issues were also discussed. Further, this morning, 3 Saudi ministers separately called on Prime Minister. This included the Saudi Minister of Energy, Minister of Labour and Social Development, and the Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture. During these meetings, issues related to bilateral trade and investment, energy sector cooperation, including strategic petroleum reserves, West Coast refinery, renewable energy cooperation, maritime and energy security cooperation, innovative technologies, and the transformation of buyer-seller relationship in energy into a strategic partnership, streamlining of recruitment of manpower and related issues, skill development and training, mapping of future requirements for manpower, and also their welfare, enhancing cooperation in agriculture and agro industries, dairy farming and aquaculture, water related cooperation, especially after the creation of the new Ministry of Jal Shakti, were some of the issues which were discussed during these meetings with the 3 Saudi ministers. This afternoon, His Majesty the King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud hosted a lunch in honor of Prime Minister. This was followed by a bilateral meeting with His Majesty the King. During the meeting with His Majesty the King, His Majesty congratulated our Prime Minister on his historic victory in the general elections held recently. His Majesty lauded India's achievements in various fields. He also added that India's achievements have earned the attention and respect of the entire world. Prime Minister recalled his highly successful visit to Riyadh in April 2016 and his meeting with His Majesty during that visit. Both leaders expressed their deep satisfaction at the excellent state of relations between India and Saudi Arabia, at the important decisions taken during the visit of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to India, and expressed their happiness at the Strategic Partnership Council which is being launched and the agreement for which will be signed later in the evening. Both leaders agreed that this high-level mechanism will strengthen partnership in all areas, including political, defense and security, culture and people-to-people contacts, trade and investments, etc. Prime Minister thanked His Majesty in enhancing energy cooperation as well as ensuring regular supply of crude to India, including in the aftermath of the attacks on Aramco installations. He welcomed the Kingdom's Vision 2030 and the desire of corporate India to participate in this process. Both leaders condemned terrorism in all its form and manifestations and appreciated the close cooperation on security matters between the two countries. His Majesty commended the contribution of nearly 3 million strong Indian community to the progress and development of Saudi Arabia. There has been considerable progress since the visit of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to India in February 2019. Saudi Arabia has immediately increased the Hajj quota for Indian nationals to 200,000 this year itself, as agreed upon in February 2019. 450 Indian prisoners have also been released so far. Several MOUs will also be signed later in the evening, which will reflect the progress which has taken place in our relations since February 2019. Later this afternoon, Prime Minister will be addressing the third session of the Future Investment Initiative Forum, where he will deliver the keynote address. The FII is organized by the Kingdom's Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Public Investment Fund. The forum is also popularly referred to as Davos in the Desert. Prime Minister will also be meeting His Royal Highness the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia in delegation level talks this evening. The recently appointed Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs will also be calling on Prime Minister separately. After the meeting with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, the agreement on setting up the Strategic Partnership Council will be signed by the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince. In addition to this, there are several agreements and MOUs which we expect to sign after the meeting. Just to give you a sense of the various MOUs and agreements which will be signed, I would like to read out the following list. One is MOU on defense industries collaboration. Second is an agreement on security cooperation. The bilateral air services agreement. MOU on cooperation in renewable energy. MOU on cooperation of medical products regulation. MOU on drug demand reduction and prevention of local trafficking in narcotic drugs, etc. MOU between the Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited and Saudi Aramco. MOU between the Foreign Service Institutes, the diplomatic institutes of both countries. Agreement between the Indian Oil Corporation, Middle East, and the Al Jairi Corporation of Saudi Arabia. This is for downstream cooperation in Saudi Arabia for retail outlets. MOU on the Atal Innovation Mission. MOU between the two stock exchanges. MOUs on Hajj-related cooperation. And also,
now we are coming to you live from Riyadh, where Secretary P.S. Tramuti is speaking at the MEA press conference on the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the King of Saudi Arabia. Now we are joined by my colleague Siddhant Sibal. Good evening to you, Siddhant. We've just listened to that press briefing. This is Prime Minister Modi's visit to Saudi Arabia, second visit in 3 years. A lot of the things that were on the agenda expected to be discussed: energy, security, trade, and of course culture. Take us through the significance of this visit.
Well, Alison, the major portion of this short but substantive visit of the Indian Prime Minister is over. He has met the King of Saudi Arabia. He had a lunch with him, and of course he also met with the King of Jordan. So meeting the leadership of both Jordan and Saudi Arabia, strong message being sent of India's growing engagement with the West Asian countries. But speaking about what to expect more, the Indian Prime Minister is going to meet the Crown Prince later.
We have lost Ant. We will try to get him back. We have just been watching the live press conference coming to us from Riyadh, where PM Modi was addressing the media on the outcome of the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the King of Saudi Arabia. Some of the things that have been discussed were, as we expected, on energy, security, trade and culture.
Key bilateral. Influential speeches, key launches. Prime Minister Modi is in Saudi Arabia. Focus on energy, security, trade and culture. Big lead for India's Link West policy. Wion reports from Riyadh. All the news, insights and analysis. Prime Minister Modi in Saudi Arabia.